The World Video Game Hall of Fame is located where we consider the center of play in the world, here at the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
The Strong is the home to the world's largest collection of toys, dolls, games, and video games, 70,000 video games and video game-related artifacts. So the World Video Game Hall of Fame needs to be here.
Video games are the key aspect of play in our time. They take art and play and story, merge it with technology in ways that are revolutionary.
Whether you're playing on a computer with someone across the world or you're playing on a mobile device, games are pervasive in our lives.
Video games have been amusing and exciting players for decades.
There's no place in the world that's doing what we're doing in the ways of understanding not only the cultural impact, but also the development process of these video games.
Even though we have tens of thousands of games at the Strong, just a select few will be in the World Video Game Hall of Fame, where we're celebrating the most important and most influential games of all time.
In order to be inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame, video games need to meet 4 key criteria: icon status, geographical reach, longevity, and influence.
Icon status, these are games that are instantly recognizable. A person on the street knows who Super Mario Bros. Is. These are games that your grandmother, your grandfather, and your kids probably know.
With geographical reach, these are the games that go beyond just one country. These are games that are popular all over the world.
A game with longevity has withstood the test of time. It's more than just a passing fad, but has remained popular over the years.
With influence, it's a game that shapes not only gaming, but sometimes culture or how we look at the world in general. When we play a certain game and all of a sudden we see the world differently because we play that game, then we know the game has influence.
For a game to be inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame,
it's a huge honor. These games are going to be remembered forever.
You're the bee's knees. You have summited Mount Everest. You have had the ultimate achievement.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 induction ceremony for the World Video Game Hall of Fame. My name is John Paul Dyson, Senior Vice President for Exhibits and Interpretive Resources here at the Strong. This is a big year. Not only is this the 10th class to be inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame, but we're standing in this magnificent new space, part of the ESL Digital Worlds, where the rotunda for the World Video Game Hall of Fame really brings a home to video games and importance in all our lives. Thank you to our friends from ESL who are here today. Now, I said this was a big year, so this year we are inducting 5 games into the World Video Game Hall of Fame. Momentarily, we will be introducing those games. Immediately following the ceremony, my colleagues and I will be available for interviews and to talk more about these honorees. And this Saturday, May 11th, the Strong will host a day of celebration honoring these and past inductees here at the museum. Now, to get to the first game and being inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame this year, my colleague Jeremy Saucier, Assistant Vice President for Interpretation and Electronic Games. Jeremy?
Thank you, JP. Our first inductee is a game about shooting rocks. Look, I know what you're all thinking. Not necessarily the most exciting idea for a video game. But not only was this game exciting, it mesmerized millions of people. And it became Atari's best-selling arcade game of all time. And you know, it is still just as fun to play this game today as it was back in 1979. So the first inductee into the 2024 class of the World Video Game Hall of Fame is Asteroids.
In 1978, when Space Invaders became the king of coin-operated video games, Atari executive Lyle Raines and designer Ed Logg responded with a new and different space-themed video game, Asteroids. Released in 1979, Players in Asteroids controlled a triangular ship, blasting its way through a moving minefield of space boulders that broke up like shrapnel into smaller, faster rocks. Enemy flying saucers added to the difficulty. The vivid glowing lines of the vector graphic display electrified gameplay with the illusion of a darting ship's vapor trail. Bumping sound effects heightened the tension. Atari sold more than 70,000 units, making it their best-selling arcade game of all time. Soon, Asteroids supplanted Space Invaders at many arcades as game operators collected $500 million in quarters. Home versions quickly followed, and Asteroids became a top seller for the Atari 2600. Endless variants and remakes made this simple yet challenging game into one of the most widely played and influential video games of all time.
And now for a special video from Asteroids co-developer Ed Log.
Hi, my name is Ed Log. I was a programmer and project leader on Asteroids. In 1971 and 72, I played MIT Space War at Stanford University. This introduced me to vector graphics and heavily influenced Asteroids in many ways, including the player ship. I especially want to thank Lyle Rains, who suggested this game idea in 1979, and I want to thank Paul Mancuso, Howie Dellman, and many others at Atari for making this game possible. Asteroids was Atari's first mega hit and brought about the meteoric rise of the video game industry as well as the rapid growth of Atari. I want to thank Atari for paying me for having this much fun. And thank you for the Strong for inducting Asteroids into the World Video Game Hall of Fame. Thank you all, and may the Asteroids always be with you.
My name is Christy Heisert, and I'm the collections manager here at the Strong. With mysterious puzzles, mesmerizing music, and haunting vistas, our second game today exercised an immersive power on players unequaled by earlier adventure games. Its influence can be seen in many of today's open-world games, casual games, and indie games. Our next inductee into the World Video Game Hall of Fame is Myst.
Most games reward action, but Myst was different when it debuted in 1991. The brainchild of brothers Robin and Rand Miller, who used cutting-edge software and hardware tools to overcome technical limitations, Myst invited players to decipher the mysteries of a haunting island world. Its beautiful, evocative settings provided depth and immersion never seen before in computer games. The game's compelling story, brain-bending puzzles, mesmerizing soundtrack, and lush graphics appealed to the millions of people who were buying home computers newly equipped with CD-ROM players. Myst appealed to a broader array of users than other computer games, especially women, who enjoyed its more cerebral and violence-free content. Its broad popularity made it the best-selling PC game for 2 decades. Myst's artistic genius captured the fancy of an entire generation of players. Those who entered its world never forgot the immersive wonder they felt when they first heard those haunting melodies and began exploring its unforgettable island realms.
And now, a special message from Myst creators Rand Miller and Robin Miller.
We began at creating Myst 25, 30 years ago, and we would have never imagined that Myst would have ended up in a museum.
No. I don't even think we're old enough for Myst to be in a museum, but
we're old enough.
I guess we are old enough.
We're old enough. We would have, when we made Myst, we would have never imagined that someday it would have found its way into a museum when we created it.
Yeah, we didn't think people would even play the game. Well, we didn't know. We made it for ourselves.
We hoped they would play the game.
We hoped they would play it. We made the game for us. We made this world for us to play. And it's very satisfying that a lot of other people enjoyed it. That alone has been a really amazing, satisfying part of our life over these years. But for the Strong National Museum of Play to recognize Myst and to induct it into the World Video Game Hall of Fame, that's above and beyond.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you guys. I wish we could be there. It would be great, but instead we're sending this to thank you so much for this honor.
My name is Ariel Prater. I'm the research specialist for Black play and culture here at The Strong. And if you were like me, an only child, desperately seeking the lights and sounds of the big city, then you were elated to find this next inductee. I don't know if I can stress this enough, but this game revolutionized the way that we play video games. The next inductee into the World Video Game Hall of Fame is SimCity.
The idea for SimCity came from designer Will Wright's interest in how cities grow and evolve. The premise is simple. Players build a city responding to its problems and needs. As Wright noted, instead of telling the player how to win or lose, we left it up to the player to decide what the desirable outcome was. The game was easy to learn. Players built roads and buildings as their population surged or cities decayed in response to their decisions. The underlying algorithms reflected Wright's study of urban systems, but humorous touches, such as the marauding giant Gila monster, kept things light. The game's appeal to older kids and grown-ups expanded the computer game market. The game and its sequel sold millions, and it inspired other simulation games, including Hall of Fame inductee The Sims. SimCity proved that when the game and programming are right, almost any subject, including urban planning, can make a good game.
Folks, we have a special treat for you. The man who believed in the dream, Max's co-founder. Put your hands together for Jeff Braun.
It's just
Jeff, real quick.
Oh, thank you. It's just a total honor to be recognized after almost 35 years. It was such an incredible to be recognized. I wanted to thank Will Wright. The idea of the city simulator actually came from his neighbor, who was a city planner. And so fortuitous, if it wasn't for his neighbor, we probably wouldn't have had SimCity. And there's other people that also wouldn't have been possible without, and one is Michael Bremer. He came up with the name SimCity. It was Micropolis before that, and so it might have a big improvement. And he came up with the name of the Sims too, as the citizens of SimCity. And let's see, I wanted to thank a few more people that made this possible. One person who doesn't show up in any of the credits, his name is AJ Redmer. He introduced me to all the developers that we used originally on the first SimCity. And he didn't work at Maxis, but he was very, very influential getting us going. And I just want to name some of the early developers that were involved. Brian Conrad, Brian Witt, Steve Hales, Brian Hills, Brett Durrett, Ed Killam, and Daniel Goldman. These people early on had a faith and belief that this would be something special, and it turned out that it really was. Thanks again for this honor and this reward. Thank you very much.
Our next game's life began in Japan. The game's creator was obsessed with horror films, and thus he was tasked to work on helping to remake a Capcom game for the Famicom in the horror genre. Those skill sets and that passion would just be perfect for that project. That project didn't end up happening, but what was born from that was an original game, the one we are here celebrating today. With 30 years, a legacy, it has deeply affected gaming as a whole, as well as the survival horror genre. Every game that has been made since has little pieces of this game. Known in the East as Biohazard, the next game inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame is Resident Evil.
Capcom's Resident Evil, or Biohazard as it was known in Japan, popularized the survival horror genre. Created by game director Shinji Mikami and released in 1996, Resident Evil's cheesy B-movie dialogue, engrossing gameplay, and chilling suspense won it wide appeal. Mikami wanted players to use their own techniques and thinking in order to survive the experience, as they controlled one of two characters investigating cannibalistic murders and missing colleagues. Anticipation and fear built as players navigated an eerie mansion, armed with only a little ammunition. Save spots were few, so they had to be smart as they solved puzzles and battled mutated zombies, dogs, and spiders. Its frightening and gruesome content earned the game a mature 17+ rating, but its sale of more than 5 million copies signaled that video games with mature themes and narratives resonated with older teenagers and adults. Numerous sequels, remakes, and spin-offs, including a hit film series, have made it a billion-dollar international media property.
Yay. And now a very special word from the team at Capcom.
Hello everyone, my name is Denny Chu. I'm the Senior Director of Communications at Capcom USA, and on behalf of everyone on the Resident Evil dev team and the Capcom organization, thank you so much. We're honored to be inducted into the Strong Museum's Video Game Hall of Fame. It's a privilege to be recognized not only by the museum, but also by fans around the world. As Capcom celebrates its 40th anniversary, we're very fortunate to be able to continue developing new games for fans and newcomers alike, to keep growing legendary franchises like Resident Evil, and we hope to do so for many more years to come. Thank you all so much.
Hi, I'm Andrew, I'm not the digital games curator anymore. I'm the director of digital preservation here at The Strong. Role-playing games have played a huge role in my life. They've allowed me to experiment with who I am, who I want to be, and even who I could be. As of late, I've been playing a whole host of different role-playing video games with my daughter, where we talk about the choices that we're making. We talk about the impact on not just the story, but how it makes the other characters feel. But there's one video game, one role-playing video game that really laid the foundation for nearly all that would follow. The final game inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame class of 2024 is Ultima.
Influenced by his love of fantasy worlds, Ultima designer Richard Garriott created his own D&D-style computer games as a high school student, releasing a game for the Apple II in 1979. Its success convinced him to create an even better game 2 years later. Ultima, the first age of darkness, helped define the role-playing game in the earliest years of computer gaming. Ultima cast players as clerics, fighters, thieves, or wizards, but what set it apart was its vast fictional world and blend of fantasy and science fiction. Players had to find a time machine and earn 4 gems to travel back in time to destroy the evil wizard Mondaine, battling monsters in subterranean dungeons, and blasting enemy ships in arcade-style outer space combat. This blend of genres and mechanics, and the game's innovative graphics, launched an enduring and influential gaming franchise, including the landmark online role-playing game Ultima Online, that mesmerized players and inspired game developers around the world.
And now for something special. He's been to space, but today he is right here in Rochester. I'm honored to introduce the creator of Ultima, Lord British himself, Richard Garriott. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you to everybody here at The Strong. This is my first time here. What an amazing place this is. What an amazing archive to this fledgling industry, this fledgling art form. You know, when I got started back in the 1970s, I think none of us could have imagined how far this would come. And getting a chance to grow up really in this industry and through this art form has really been an incredibly special, opportunity, I think, for those of us who were who got in so early. And the work that is being done here at The Strong, unlike other industries, like you think about the movie industry, which is 150 some odd years old, and the first decades of that industry are largely lost, and are people having to go kind of excavate to find the missing pieces. But the work being done here to preserve this earliest foundational work of our industry, I think, is incredibly important. And I'm just honored to now be a part of that, to be here at the Strong with all of you. And I look forward to not only exploring these exhibits, but contributing to these exhibits as well myself. So thank you very much for this honor. Thank you for all the teams that worked with me to help to create it. Thanks to all the players who are still with me. You know, I still periodically am making new games. And thank you again for this induction.
So it's official. This year's inductees into the World Video Game Hall of Fame are Asteroids, Myst, SimCity, Resident Evil, and Ultima. My colleagues and I will be available for media interviews and questions immediately following the event. Thank you everyone for coming, and have a great rest of your day.